While writing script for this video, I find that I haven't read any book from Pakistan and Sri Lanka, like my own neighboring countries. If you have read any book from Pakistan and Sri Lanka, please suggest me some good books from those countries. Hi there, I'm Mehdy. Welcome to my channel after a long gap. So after a long gap, today I have decided to make a special video for all of you. And today I'm going to talk about 10 books which I have read from 10 different countries. Before starting the video, let me just quickly give credit to the person from whom I have taken this idea of making this video. Anushka, one of my favorite booktuber. Do check her channel, Wise with Grace. She's an amazing booktuber, by the way. So she made a video where she talked about 10 books from 10 different countries. Okay, and I just love the video. And I find that I have also read some 13 to 15 books from different countries, but today I'm going to talk about 11 books from 11 different countries. Yes, so without any further, let's get started. I'm going to start this video with my own country, India. So when it comes to India, there are so many amazing books. Okay, there are so many amazing writers, amazing books in India. But today I'm going to talk about a very beautiful, very simple, and one of my favorite book by Anis Salim, A Small Town Sea. So, Small Town Sea is one of the most simple yet beautiful book by Anis Salim. Okay, it's a short book, short one, about 277, no, 280 pages. Okay, you can set it in one, you can complete this in one set. So, this beautiful book, Small Town Sea, tells the tales of a family of four who has rebased their home to a seaside of a small town. And in this story, the 13-year-old protagonist narrates the story in the form of a letter to a publisher far away London. And the narrator is actually the son of a famous writer, okay? And his last wish is to, breathe his last days beside the, seaside of a small town. This is the basic and simple plot of this book. But the question is this son really happy at this drastic change of environment and his life? And how would the family cope with the situation once his father last wish is fulfilled? And this is a kind of book which deals with some of the most important questions, okay, facing us when we lose the person closest to us. So I really enjoyed this book. It's a simple read, yet very beautiful. So you must read this book. The second country is Colombia, and from Colombia, I have read Love in a Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So, first of all, I made this great mistake of reading Gabriel Garcia Marquez Love in a Time of Cholera before 100 Years of Solitude. Yes, don't do that. If you want to start Gabriel Garcia Marquez, start with 100 Years of Solitude. This book took me some 40 to 45 days to complete. It's not at all an easy read, okay? It's not at all an easy read. Well, I have heard that 100 Years of Solitude is also quite difficult, but this is a tough one. But again, apart from that, I would like to say that it's a nice experience of reading Love in a Time of Cholera, especially the time of COVID-19, and especially when you are a reader, a kind of reader जिसने 2 साल से दुनिया ही नहीं देखा, तो it's a nice experience of reading Cholera. But again, I would like to remind you that don't read this book before 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez if you really want to enjoy Gabriel Garcia Marquez and magic realism. The third country is Afghanistan, and from Afghanistan, I have read Thousand Splendid Sun by Khalid Hosseini. Before starting the review, I would like to thank Masoom Sikdar for your recommendation. Thank you so much for your recommendation of this book. I really loved it. And second, Shabana Karim, because it's your book, जो मैंने तुम्हारे घर से चोरी कर लिया था, and I have no plan to return you. So, A Thousand Splendid Sun by Khalid Hosseini is a kind of book which is quite relatable to present day situation of Afghanistan. This book basically revolves around the lives of two women, Mariam and Laila, and their living condition during Afghan Taliban war, their sacrifices, the pain they endure. The writer Khalid Hosseini has beautifully portrays the horrible condition of women in Afghanistan. and he beautifully brought together the themes of child marriage, sexual abuse, domestic abuse, and women rights of Afghanistan. It's a very easy read yet gripping. There will be a time when you literally cry after seeing the horrible condition of Mariam and Layla. So I totally enjoyed A Thousand Splendid Sun. I have also read his other book called A Kite Runner. So if you want to explore Afghani literature or even to know the condition of women in Afghanistan, go for this book. The next country which I'm going to discuss is Brazil, and from Brazil I have read Veronica Decides to Die by Paulo Coelho. Well, I have read other books by Paulo Coelho as well, but this is one of the recent book which I have read by him, and I love this one so much. So the story of Veronica Decides to Die revolves around a girl called Veronica who has almost everything she wants in her life, almost everything, but there was something missing. So this feeling of sadness and depression in her life ended up deciding suicide is the only way of, free from all these tensions and worries. She took a handful of pills and write a funny letter. But unfortunately, life was not supposed to end for her like this way. After that, she got hospitalized. When she awakened, she found herself in an asylum for being mentally insane. And this is when the story actually begins. When she came across so many characters, so many lives and their stories, and these characters and stories somehow affects the Virginia's way of thinking towards life. So, one thing you will find in every Paulo Coelho book is philosophy. Paulo Coelho books are filled with philosophy, philosophical thoughts, and motivation. After reading this book, I learned so many lessons, and among them, the most special one is
Live your life, man. Life is too short to thinking about shits.
the next country which I'm going to talk about is Japan. And from Japan, I have read only one writer, that is Haruki Murakami, and I have already made a separate video on the books which I have read by him. Do check it out. The next country which I'm going to talk about is Lebanese, and from Lebanese I have read this Prophet by Khalil Gibran, one of the most famous and most beautiful book I have ever read in my life. So it's a wonderfully simple book. Okay, it's talk about so many things. It's a short book, by the way. It talks about so many things, so many important concepts of life. Okay, love, marriage, patience, not patience, leadership, religion, children, whatnot. This book is filled with life lessons and also filled with beautiful lines. Each line is so beautiful, like it will definitely touch your heart in some or other way. And initially, you may find it difficult because it has been written in poetic style, but once you get into it, you're gonna fucking love this one. The next country which I'm going to talk about is Russia, and from Russia, I have read some 2 to 3 writers like Leo Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Dostoevsky, I Dostoevsky. And so today in this video, I'm going to talk about Vladimir Nabokov's masterpiece Lolita.
Lolita, 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 Lolita. Oh, the character in this book pronounces so romantically. Lolita, Lolita, Lolita. Okay, Lolita.
So this book, Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, is a very unique book. Tells the story of a 37-year-old man called Humbert Humbert, French by born, and he is a professor of French literature. He is so intellectual and handsome-looking man, and he is obsessed with the girl of the age from 9 to 12 years. Why? For that, you need to read the book. Okay, so while searching for new house, our protagonist Humbert sees a 12-year-old girl called Lolita, of his landlady, and so Humbert decides to stay there and put his 100% effort to get his fantasy Lolita. Initially, when I was reading this book, I find it quite unacceptable because of certain things, certain scenes, certain dialogues. But if you read this book from psychoanalysis point of view, trust me, you're gonna love this one. This is a true masterpiece. And the best part about this book is its narration. The narration of this book is so magical, intense, astounding with magical flow of words, especially the starting lines. Lolita, light of my life, fire of my loins, my sin, my soul, Lolita. I find it quite passionate and romantic, sometimes unacceptable, and you may find it disturbing because of the unacceptable relationship between father and daughter. Okay, there are certain times when he literally rapes her and she couldn't do anything. She's helpless. Okay, so at the same time, read it with an open mind, read it with the point of view of psychoanalysis. It's a great book. And the next country which I'm going to discuss is US. And from US, trust me, there are so many writers, so many amazing books. I got literally confused what to choose and what not. So I have decided to, discuss the book which I'm currently reading, Stephen King's It. So first of all, I don't want to give you spoiler about this book. Okay, it's a true masterpiece. I'm currently reading this book and about to finish this book. But yeah, I just would like to request you to read Stephen King once in your life. There in America, like from America, there are so many books, there are so many writers, great books, as I've said. But Stephen King is one of those great writers. There are n number of books by him, and they are so famous. I just want to request you to read Stephen King once in your life, especially those who want to become writers in their near future. If you're planning to write short stories, novellas, novels, please read Stephen King. This is going to be a great help for all of you. I have learned so many things from this book, from Stephen King's writing style. Okay, so read Stephen King once in your life. The next country is Turkey, and from Turkey I have read Alif Shafag's 40 Rules of Love. Okay, I have already talked about this book in my first video. Firbi, let me just quickly review this book again. So, 40 Rules of Love by Alif Shafak unfolds two tempting parallel narratives. One is contemporary Ella Rubinstein, a 40-year-old married unhappy woman. Ella takes a job as a reader for a literary agency, and she is assigned to read a book called Sweet Blasphemy. Sweet Blasphemy. The second book is set in 13th century where the great poet Rumi encountered his best friend, his spiritual mentor, his love, Sums of Tabziz, and which is actually the story of the Sweet Blasphemy. This is how these two stories go parallel in this book, and how this Sweet Blasphemy affects the life of Ella Rubinstein, and how this book changes her life forever. So please read this book. This is an amazing book, talks about so many great things, friendship, love, whatnot. So read this one. Second last country which I'm going to talk about is UK. And from UK there are so many books, there are so many great books, and I got literally confused about what to share and what not. Again, same case with US. So I thought to share one of my favorite, which is The Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. First of all, Wuthering Heights is a quite difficult read. Initially, when I was reading this book, I find it difficult, really difficult in fact. But once you get this book, this is insane. This book is just insane. Okay. Secondly, the most beautiful part about this book is the manner, the way the book has been written. You felt like as if everything took place yesterday. So this book, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, talks about the insane love between Heathcliff and Catherine, and how their love and breakup ruins the life of the people surrounding them, and how their breakup and separation leads to the death of one of the main character of this book. So Wuthering Heights is one of my favorite book, and you should definitely read this book once in your life, even if you hate classic. The last country which I'm going to talk about is Arabia, and from Arabia I have read one of the most famous book, 1001 Nights, and mostly known as Arabian Nights. This book is one of the most celebrating and famous book from Arabian literature, basically a collection of folk tales of Islamic golden age. This book contains some commonly known fairy tales like Aladdin, Shinbad, and Ali Baba, and other romantic and magical tales. And I am sure that everyone in this world at least know one story from this book. So why this book is called 1001 Nights? There's a very interesting story behind this. There is a king called Shahryar. Shahryar, yeah, something like that. I forgot the name. Sorry, Shahryar. So Shahryar, a king who find his wife unfaithful one day. So he killed her, and out of his grief and bitterness and anger, he decides that every girl of his country is every woman of his country is unfaithful. So what he do? He started marrying all the virgin ladies and started executing them each morning. So in the process, he met Shahrazad, one of the most important characters of this book. Okay, Shahrazad. So Shahrazad, on the day of their marriage, on the night of their marriage, she tells a tale to the king and does not end the story. So the king became curious to know about the ending. So eventually he postponed the execution, and this goes on for 1001 night. And at the end of 1001 night, the king falls in love with Shahrazad. So this is one of the most famous, most interesting, most beautiful book from Arabian literature. You must read this one. This is my personal favorite, and I think you know some or two stories from this book. So that's all for today's video. I hope that you really enjoyed the video. If you like the video, please give a thumbs up. Comment me in the comment section below the books which you have read apart from these countries which I have mentioned. The other countries, please mention those countries including the writer and the book, and subscribe to my channel.